That, well, so far it's been one of the hardest things I've ever done. You think, oh, just become a franchise. People just call. They just want to do it. Oh, you make money? Oh, this should be easy. And it's not really that easy. You find out at the very beginning, just like any new franchise, as being a franchisor, you have to prove to people that this actually works. And that's then the major thing. And the turning point in selling franchises to people is when you actually have other people who are successful, not just Richard, right? I need Michael, I need Miguel, I need, Lesia, everybody out there who, become a franchisee to be successful. Then that helps you sell new franchises to people, moving forward.
Hey, welcome to What the Franchise, the regular podcast where we talk about franchise development topics and growing franchising and franchising best practices and generally just how to scale a franchise system in a way that people really struggle with. I have a really cool guest today, my friend Richard Gould of Richard's Painting, the best named painting franchise in the industry.
That's right.
Richard, thanks for being here. Richard is we're celebrating a milestone in the next week, adding his 15th franchisee in this first 3 years. He's succeeded in a crowded space against the odds and has a lot to offer franchisees and is picking up momentum. And Richard, thanks for joining me today on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So why don't we start with just explain a little bit about what Richard's Painting is and how you got into franchising? Because you have a really successful company location yourself, and you were a very successful. I mean, you had a background in another career in a different industry. Tell us a little bit about your background and what got you to franchise, and let's go from there.
Well, I mean, what got me to franchise is I was looking to expand Richard's Painting, but I wanted other people to have as much responsibility as me. And so, I just figured, it's the best way to do it, be franchising, where you have owners who have some equity in the business. And in turn, I can teach them how to be successful. So it's been a journey so far.
Did the idea of becoming a franchisor seem easy at the beginning, or like what were your ideas when you first made this decision to go from a $1 million plus painting business to being a franchisor? Like, what was that transition like?
Well, so far it's been one of the hardest things I've ever done. You think, oh, just become a franchise. People just call. They just want to do it. Oh, you make money? Oh, this should be easy. And it's not really that easy. You find out at the very beginning, just like any new franchise, as being a franchisor, you have to prove to people that this actually works. And that's then the major thing. And the turning point in selling franchises to people is when you actually have other people who are successful, not just Richard, right? I need Michael, I need Miguel, I need, Lesia, everybody out there who, become a franchisee to be successful. Then that helps you sell new franchises to people, moving forward.
And I've heard you talk. Yeah, I've heard you talk about Richard's Painting as it's a premium painting franchise. Like, you're not like a commodity painter. Tell us a little bit about specifically what Richard's does.
Well, what Richard's really, our goal is to be the painter next door without people even realizing that we're a franchise. I relate it to, like, if you ever go to a restaurant and you're eating there and the atmosphere is great, the food is great, and then you leave and you find out that this place is a franchise or it's a chain. You're like, man, it can't be, right? It's too good. And so that's really what my goal is here with Richard's Painting, is just to be your local neighborhood painter and have successful franchisees that, they're building their brand in their community and not just trying to get work and be like a middleman in the painting industry.
And I've heard you talk about, like, you want to be this like top referred, this most skilled painter, like the person that, even though there's lots of people who do painting in any community, there's always like one guy or one company that's like, oh yeah, Richard's is the best. Like, that's really the one.
Right.
They're reasonable. Like, they don't make mistakes. Like, they do exactly what they say they're going to do. It's really like the preferred partner. And you've done a really good job in your business of teaching your franchisees to scale and generate high dollar business. Like, you're not after the 3 rooms for $99 or the 1 day painting. You want the much bigger tickets. that are much, I mean, you run really profitable businesses and your franchisees do really well. Like in the painting industry, I like your guys are better positioned than most, I would say.
No, I agree. I mean, when I look at the industry average for painting franchises profit margin, net profit, they're between 15 to 18%. And our franchises are doing, 25 plus in net profit. So, I don't know if you can do any better than that. It's one of those things where, you cap out, if you can do 30 to 35% in net profit, that literally means that if you're doing $1 million business, you can make anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000, giving the right circumstances, doing all the things you're supposed to do. That's the potential.
Well, and so let's talk about when you said, it's the hardest thing I've ever done being a franchisor. I mean, you've learned a lot in 3 years. Like if you could go back 3 years, what would 2023 Richard tell 2019 Richard? What would you say? Besides run for the hills and don't do this.
Be patient is probably the number one thing. Everybody stick to what you believe, right? Stick to what you know is right, and yes, you can take advice. I've talked to yourself, Thomas, yourself. I've talked to different people. Yeah. I've met people through you. Brett Larrabee is somebody who I still communicate with today. And he's a really great, person in franchising. But I know going back in time, people said to me, change my name, charge more money for my franchise fee, do this, do that. And I've really stuck to what I believe in, and knowing that, I could do just like everybody else is doing. Why not? It's successful for this company, that company, but I want to be different. I want people to join Richard's Painting because they want something different, not just what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. And so be true be true to yourself for sure. Like definitely stick to your guns, but you've also held true that your business was very successful for yourself and you've been able to teach people to replicate that business. And I think some of the mistakes I see people, especially in the, in the three categories that matter. So there's incubating, which is 1 to 10 units. That was the toughest part for people to get to that 10.
Yes.
It took you a lot longer to get from 0 to 10. You went from 10 to 15 relatively quickly. It was a fraction of the time it took you to get to 0 to 10. So like 10, to 50 is what we would kind of typically call, emerging, that 10 to 40, kind of 25, 30, 45 units. Only, 90% of brands never get over 25 units. Like it takes them 25 years to get over that if they ever do. And only like 5 or 10% of brands get to 100 units. So like, you're on the right path. What other lessons would you learn besides talk to yourself? Talk to me about it. Yeah. Why is that?
I'm curious to know why. I'm curious to know why brands don't get past that threshold. What is the reason? What's holding them back, or what is the reason that they, what should I look out for if for me not to be in that same situation?
Yeah, well, I think I'll try to unpack that for you, because that's a really important question. Number one is, I think a lot of people like you, entrepreneurs who are very successful, who have a very good business in a sector that can be franchised, like premium painting is a good example. Decide I want to franchise my business, and I don't know how you went about that, but they end up working for what we call a packager, somebody who says, I can franchise your business, and they take all your money and they give you an FDD and a crappy ops manual, and they talk about how easy it's going to be. And I don't know what company you use to do that, but I see you're shaking your head. So I know you had some of this experience. I think that's part of the problem, is they set unrealistic expectations for how much money it really costs, and they don't set you up to win. They just want to get you franchised, and so we're seeing a shift in franchising where that's become, a kind of a dangerous thing to sell people. Like, you really need to get better advice. If you were doing it over again, and I just happened to talk to you as a friend or a consultant, not somebody who was trying to do work for you, I would say, well, you need to talk to 2 or 3 really good franchise attorneys, not people who are just trying to sell you everything under the sun. And you're going to need, so a technology stack. You're going to have to figure out what kind of CRM system and what kind of system you're going to use to run your franchise. You're going to have a really good FDD from a really experienced franchise attorney. You're going to have an operations manual and an internet. You're going to have a whole bunch of marketing and branding and go to market stuff. You're going to need websites. The website part of it leads me to the work that you and I did together, 2 years into your development. And we helped you build a website for recruitment that did a good job of telling your story. Before that, you didn't have that. Now people can go to your website, which I think is richardspaintingfranchise.com. If you want to check Richard's
Yes.
cool looking site. And it does a good job of explaining who you are. You get to see you get to explain the niche. You talk about how you're different. And that is a really critical part that I think people just miss. Like they just completely underestimate how important the storytelling part of development is. And third, as I think people either don't know how to do development because you're not a painter anymore. Like you would say today, like I'm not a painter at all. Like I'm a franchisor. Like I'm all focused on recruiting, training, supporting, letting people cry when they have a bad day. Like my job is to help people grow painting businesses. And I'm in the support and recruitment and retention business. It's a very different business. Like it's not, you think you're going to franchise your business and people are going to throw franchise fee checks at you and you're going to, go buy a Porsche and you're going to keep painting and anything like that. It's a different business. No. Like the question that I tell people is, look, like what business are you in? Like, and people will say, I'm in a painting business. It's like, you're not in a painting business. Like you're not. Like if you can't adjust the mindset to be what a franchisor really is and learn and be a student of what it means to be a franchisor, you're a much better franchisor today than you were 2 years ago. Would you agree with that? You've learned a lot.
100%. 100%. I mean, there was.
And so right now, like now you have the recruiting, you've got some experience, you have validation, you have some happy franchisees, you've proven it out in the market 15 times now. Like I think you'll get from 15 to 50 a lot faster, maybe in the time it took you to go from 10 to 15. Then it's a matter of budget. It's expensive to develop. The average, advertising cost for a new franchisee in most systems is around $10,000 or $12,000. So, if you don't have resources to devote to it, that can make development hard. And if you're not working with brokers, which, you need a very particular kind of franchisee, like you're not looking for just anybody that wants to own a service business. You want somebody that buys into your really specific niche because you identified a go-to-market strategy that's different than like even a line painting or, CertaPro, or, I mean, you distinguish yourself in the market in very interesting ways. And so you need somebody that really appreciates that. And some of the people you've hired that seem to be doing really well have come from other service businesses. Like you've been able, and actually, Kayla Ryan, who's our CMO at Home Run Franchising, is talking at Palm Beach Atlantic this coming up week. And she's given a presentation on conversational marketing for recruitment and how important it is to make yourself available. And I think she's going to point you out. Like you've done a good job of recruiting your own franchisees off of Facebook using Messenger. You want to talk about that for a minute? Because I think you're like a pioneer in that. I think if more people did that, we would grow a lot faster. But how's that worked for you?
Well, so far it's been great. You actually, I mean, truthfully, I got the Messenger from our painting business because we use that for our marketing for our franchisees. They use that a lot. And so I said, well, let's try it for recruiting franchisees. And believe it or not, you get to talk to so many people. You don't have to get on a conversation. You don't have to get on a phone call, right? You know how those phone calls can go. You have people, I'll call you back tomorrow, I'll call you back next week. And then you never, touch base. So this way you can, you're putting yourself in front of people like instantaneously. And you can react quicker. You can make decisions quicker. And, you're really, and then you can really see who they are at the same time besides just a phone call. You can look at their profile while you're talking to them. You can really see, are these people who are really going to want to do this? So it's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah, we also at Home Run Franchises, all four of our brands, we use messenger-based Facebook ads as our primary marketing for the consumer side. And when we switched to that a little over a year ago, we have a 39% same-store sales increase. Like it's shocking, like how effective that is. And I'm also shocked at how few franchisors use that tool correctly. They just can't find vendors to do it, or they don't know how to do it. For us, it's not just the ads and having Messenger. It's training somebody to respond correctly and be responsive on the other end, which is what you're good at. I think that is a strategy we use for our development too. It's certainly not the only strategy, but I think that's something that if you're not doing that today, you're foolish for stuff. So what does the year ahead look like? Like what lessons have you learned in the last year that you think you're going to change in 2023? Like where are you where's your head as a franchisor today?
As a franchisor, I want to continue the course that we're on. For us as a franchise, hiring some more people in the office and staff to support the franchisees, that's really important. As my son told me one day, Dad, there's only so many of you. You can't talk to everybody every single day and try to change everybody's life. So, I'm getting more people who share my vision for people, for franchising, for painting, especially, when we hire people in our franchise business, they're going to be people who know about painting. You can hire anybody to do a job, but they've got to understand painting to be successful. If you don't understand that business, then it doesn't work for us. Yeah. So that's really where we're going, is just trying to continue to support. And as we add on new franchisees, just continue to help make them successful. Because the one thing I've learned here in franchising is you're not just a franchisor, you're a life coach. You're a business coach, you're a mentor. You are so many things. You're a family counselor. You're so many things besides just helping people run a business. And that's been the most, actually, it's very gratifying to help people. I love to see people grow, from when you first talk to them, they don't even know how to even answer a phone, and just to see them go from, just making that initial phone call to doing, a few $100,000 in business is so gratifying to me.
It is, for sure. That's an interesting thing. You think about the other reasons that people have a hard time growing are, I think, and I went to the Emerging Growth Franchise Conference that IFA had, which is a conference I really, really like a lot. And they had this really interesting idea that the first hire an emerging growth franchisor should hire is a director of operations or a franchise admin or somebody whose job really is to do nothing but systemize the business and make sure that, there's documentation, that there's support structure, that got all your onboarding outlined, that franchisees have access to the CRM training. It's generally like an admin person. It's more internal focused and less outward focused. That everybody I talked to said, if I could go back again, I would hire this franchise admin / director of ops kind of position first, because I spent so much of my time trying to build that stuff myself. And every time I was doing that, I wasn't doing something else I needed to do, like development or operations. And then they said, number 2 is the founders should fire themselves as quickly as possible and build a professional staff. And that typically is, you have like, whatever the consensus from people who've been through the curve was really uniform. It was interesting to see as the founder becomes more the CEO and the lead development person. So they're helping people get up. And you have a director of ops, you have an onboard and training person, and then a field support person and a technical trainer. That's the kind of cluster of people, and then some kind of CFO or finance position. But, like a small 3 or 4 people like that can do 50 units really was the point that they were making is you get somebody onboarded from day one and you build a pro forma of what, the first year or 2 years should look like. And you just meet once a week in a group and you just go through the pro forma and say, where are you this week? And what are your KPIs? And, how are you doing? Are you spending enough? Are you have enough leads? What's your close rate? You need to make it a data driven conversation about their performance and then give them stuff to work on and get their feedback on what is and isn't working and help them work through the trouble. As a founder, you can't do that with 50 people, but you can hire people to do that. I did in my businesses. That's the structure we have with all 4 of ours. And I have a lot of young people, like they're Gen Z, they're 22, 24, 25, and they're really good at it. My closet business, my brand manager is 25. He's a rock star. I mean, he didn't grow up in closets, but we were able to train him. What I've spent my time coaching him is more like how to develop people and how to influence people and how to be responsive and, how to help people like learn the system and break it down into small pieces. And so that's, that's one of the hard things about franchising is you're in the systems business. Like you have to have systems and you have to build a culture. And I think culture is another part where people really miss the mark. Like for us, we have a culture like we're going to take over the universe. And you were commenting on how we seem to like grow really fast without a lot of effort. There's a ton of effort in what we do, but culture is the glue. Yeah, culture is the glue. Like we tell people we have fun. Like we have fun. We want people who make money and have fun. Like this is a 2 metric business. I want you to really love this business. I want you to get up every day and think this is the best decision I made in my life and I really love it and I'm having fun. I want you to make the financial return that you want to make and work towards whatever goal. And we ask people, where do you want to be in 3 years? And I build a pro forma for every franchisee and say, this is your plan. These are the steps that you're going to have to go through to get from here to there. And, it's your journey. Like I can't make that journey for you. I give you all the tools and coaching and expertise to do it, but you're going to have to actually do the work. And then you have a culture of what we call a performance culture. Like I think there really are 2 types of franchise systems, particularly in the service. There's either compliance cultures or performance cultures. And the compliance cultures are all about, these are all the things you're not doing right. Slap your hand for being an entrepreneur and thinking creatively. And, like you've probably run into franchises. Those are no fun. Those franchises have a high churn rate. They suck all the joy out of business ownership for service people. When a performance culture is, look, we want you to make money. Like we're here to help you. Like, let's go, let's go do this, and get people really excited about sales and metrics and growth. And you're the cheerleader and you pump people up and you help them be a better person than they even realize they can be. Cause you can see it in them. You can see that if you do this, and I love getting somebody who's in service, who's, maybe not sure what kind of career they're going to have. They're not sure where they're going to go with their life. And then, you teach them a system and you begin professional development of making them a better business person and a better person overall. And 2 years later, they're buying a $1 million house and they have, they've employed people and their employees are doing well. You're right. It's gratifying to do that, but that's the job of a franchisor. So I think if you stay focused on those pieces, and you're focused on recruitment and you focus on transparency and you do a good job of storytelling and you're in a business that can demonstrate economic returns like yours does, you can grow endlessly. It's just a matter of budget and time and focus and organizational growth. And I think you're doing great. Like I'm really excited to see what you pull off this year. I'd love to see you do a dozen units this year. I think you probably could.
No,
you're not working with brokers at all either. Yeah.
No, I haven't. I mean, and that's kind of a thing. I'm kind of an outsider just by nature. And I'm kind of one of those people who like wants to get to 50 units and said, man, I didn't use a broker for this. Not saying that's a negative to brokers. I'm just saying I like to be different, say, hey, there's a different way.
Yeah. At 15 units, you're kind of getting to the point where brokers will start to pay more attention to you. That might be a really good thing to look at for you and kind of your growth, but it is kind of satisfying to be able to grow without brokers and to be able to do some of it on your own, and some of that comes to content and advertising strategy and visibility, things like trade shows and paid search campaigns. And you got a good website. So just driving people to the website. I think the Facebook conversational marketing piece is really important. I'm really glad to see that you're doing that, for sure. What other kind of big obstacles do you see? Sure.
Oh, so like talking about brokers, because I know it's heavy in our industry about brokers and relationships. Like if somebody's new, like myself, like where do they go? Like how do you even begin to start a relationship with brokers? Like how does that even begin? Like I'm not even sure about that.
Well, so Nick Lopez, who started Blind Painting, I think is a company that's probably the closest to you, like in terms of their also a premium thing. Nick is 5 or 6 years old. Maybe he's got 80 units in his system and it's 100% broker, like, and then any deals other than he used an FSO company. I think it's Rep1 or Repum, or I think what the name of it is, but, they charge a really high fee and he has to, his cost. Like what's your total investment on the low end for you guys? What does somebody have to spend to get into a Richards painting?
Minimum is 15 grand.
Yeah,
our minimum is 15.
Yeah. So it's, you're positioned in the sweet spot right now. I think he's 150 or something, or 80 or 90, it's a much more substantial amount of money. So that drives a lot of commissions for people. But to answer your question, I mean, you could get into broker networks now, you could get into, BAI is a good one. I like FCC and, IFPG, FranServe. Those are all really good concepts. I don't think you just need to be in one. Like I would just pick one and go slow, or I might look at some independent brokers and get started with 3 or 4 people who are independents, people who, sometimes people will do, independent deals with a small franchisor and, will come in and, do a commission based deal, just one off. You can say like, you just have to like I make a point, in my own business to do outreach to brokers 4 or 5 times a week. So I just look them up on LinkedIn and say, hey, I noticed you're a broker. If you have a few minutes, I'd love to tell you about what we're doing. I don't know what networks you're in or if you're independent, but I've got a really good thing. And I can tell you, because you're kind of in the same category we're in, is that the under $50,000 total net worth category is barren. Like there are no opportunities for brokers. They don't have a lot of options. It's usually just me. That's when I do. And I try to limit broker deals to about 30% of my deals. I like 30% broker recruiting, 30% organic, the kind you're doing. And then I do 30% what I call creative recruiting. Like I recruit talent. I'm looking for young entrepreneurs who have passion that I can kind of help get open. I'm looking for people from diverse racial or ethnic backgrounds that maybe I don't think as a group have the right opportunities and would never get a chance. But you meet somebody, you've seen this, you meet somebody and they have the drive they want to win in a business. And I think as a franchisor, if you can give opportunities and create opportunities for those people, those are my rock stars. Like they made up about 30% of the people I recruited at home-based franchise group, but they made up 60% of my top performers. It was very outsized. Like you give somebody an opportunity they can't ever get it anywhere else, and they take off like a rocket. And I really like those. So those 20. Go ahead.
When you say give some opportunity, how are you doing that? Like I know for me, I'm in your same position. Yeah. We have younger people out there who I'm helping them, by our low startup cost. They're able to get in, maybe borrow some money from their parents or have a credit card.
It's a similar, like, let's say that my franchise fee is $35,000 for a dryer event, Superheroes, or Lifestyle Window Films, or the Lighting Squad, or $39,000 for Up Closets. Those are the 4 that we have. If I have somebody who has the right skill, I'll let them put $2,500 down towards the franchise fee. And I'll make payment arrangements. I don't finance it. Like I don't give them terms. I just say, look, break this up into a 36-month note and just pay, whatever that is divided by 36. Maybe it's $500 or $700, $800 a month. And we'll start that 90 or 120 days after you open. So you have a chance to ramp up, and then the business will pay for the franchise fee. So as a franchisor, you're still going to have 10 or 15,000 to get a truck and tools and all the other training. You're going to have some money. You can't do this without money. But 15 or 20 is a really reasonable fully amount of money, and they can usually get that from parents or they've saved up. It's not as much money today as it used to be. 15,000 doesn't go very far, in today's market. So if I can get somebody in a business and they can get to a 6-figure income or 150K in 2 years with one of my businesses, and they should be with yours, that's a real win. And those are very loyal people. The other reason I think that's really important is to think about that as opportunities. Like I have an incentive program at the Titus Center at Palm Beach Atlantic. I waive the franchise fee for graduates of that program. Like if somebody graduates with the franchise program and they have an aptitude for business and they really want to be a franchisee, I said, well, you're a kid. I'll give you a franchise, but I know you're recruitable. Like you came from a really good educational program, and like you demonstrate in an interview that you have the passion and drive for it. I'll take a chance on somebody like that all day. And the reason I think franchisors I should take chances.
Learning. Oh yeah. What I'm learning here is that don't leave any stone unturned, right? Any marketing program does not one point. There's 20 different points to try to recruit good people and good quality people, and people are going to represent you and themselves really well. This is out there in franchising. What I've noticed is 90% of the industry is looking for people that just have all the money, right? And people like you and myself.
I don't think that's the best person. Yeah, I don't think that. I don't think a 50-year-old with a $300,000 401k is the best person to own a Richards painting. I'm sorry.
No,
I don't think that's what you want. And like it's that's who you're going to get from brokers. I mean, it's this, that's who can afford a typical franchise. I think you have to be in the talent recruiting process, and you have to think a little more broadly about who makes up, because your value is a franchisor, how you build a $10 million business as Richard of Richard's Painting is the royalty revenue stream, like getting a set of stable owners that grow and scale and are teachable and do well. And you don't have a churn rate. And you have people really love the business. And those young guys are going to get in and really hustle. The other really important part of that is, I think you have to grow your own multi-unit owners. I think you get somebody in one unit. If you get a good person, you can work through them with the scale of getting into 3 or 4 or 5 trucks and having several crews, getting 2 or 3 or 4 units. My daughter had 2 dryer vent superheroes franchises and opened up 2 lighting squads in New Orleans. She's 25. She's on her 4th franchise already. And she was an English major. So I thought she was my non-entrepreneur out of my group. And she ended up being the turbo entrepreneur. It was really kind of funny. But, like through coaching, I grew her from a single to 4 units, and she'll add more. She's got plans to add another 4 units on in the next 2 years. She'll end up with 8 units. By the time she's 30, she'll have a, $2-3 million net business or net gross. Not net. That would be awesome if I had a daughter that had a $2 million net business. That'd be great.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to hold on to those numbers.
Pay me money. Pay me back for that college stuff. But she's doing great. She bought a house. She goes on trips. Like she's living the life. Like she's like my kids just think the recession is a non-thing. Like they just, because I taught them how to build a money tree. That's what I said. Like you have to grow a money tree. You have to plant a tree in your backyard and grow money on it. Like that's really what franchising offers people. And so as a franchisor, you can actually grow your own multi-unit owners thinking this way. And, like if you're at 200 units, I would think 100 of your units are going to be things that you've grown organically. And that's the best way to grow. That's my advice for everybody. Well, cool. Well, Richard, I really appreciate you having on. Oh, go ahead.
No. I mean, everything, having these conversations, I'm truly happy because for new emerging brands or people getting into franchising, sometimes you never know who to talk to, what to do. Like you're not sure if every relationship you enter in is about money. I've noticed that at the beginning. That's, talk about early on, what would I change? I feel like a lot of people just talk to you because they look at you like a paycheck. Don't look at you like, hey, let me help Richard out. Let me help Thomas out. Let me get them to the next step. No, it's like, hey, I'll help you. But by the way, I charge a fee for that. And so, having these conversations and being open and honest and trying to help each other really is something that I hope other people try to do.
Yeah. And I think franchising is a cool industry outside of the supplier network is what you're talking about. There are a lot of franchisors like yourself or me, and I would encourage you to talk to younger franchisors, people just starting out, and share the advice is, and the more you do this, the easier it gets. And there are a lot of us in franchising that care a lot about the industry and want people not to be another statistic. Like I want people to be in that 5% of people that get to 100 units. We need more of that in the United States because I do believe a franchise is the best way for someone to participate in the economy at their full market value. I think it's the fastest path towards income inequality. We do a great job of diversity and inclusion. I mean, your franchise system is wonderfully diverse. You have one of the most diverse franchise systems I've seen for a small franchisor. Like you're out there attacking progressive social issues, and you're definitely not a progressive socialist. I mean, you end up being the poster child for how to do it, and you made it look easy. Like it's really cool, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But Richard, I really appreciate you having on.
Thank you so much.
It's been good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Check Richard out. If you know anybody, the guy. All right.
I appreciate it so much, Thomas. Thank you.